Welcome, everybody, to the Fanmouth Daily Fantasy Baseball Breakdown for Thursday, June the 12th. I'm Joe Marsh, joined today by Dave Del Grande. How you doing, Dave?
Doing good today, thanks.
All right, big day in the world of sports. We got World Cup, we got the first day of the U.S. Open, we have NBA Finals, but we're going to talk about fantasy baseball today. Hopefully you had a chance to check out the good work that Jeff and Chris did for the U.S. Open. A lot of good stuff from them. You can check it out on the website, blog.fanmouth.com. All right, jump right into baseball. Now, tonight there's a very small slate of games, a lot of teams traveling and whatnot. So there's not a ton of great options, especially at pitcher. I think there are some strong pitchers going, but not necessarily in great matchups. I like Chris Sale. He's sort of a matchup-proof guy for me. I would prefer if he wasn't facing the Tigers, but I'll still take him anyways against the Tigers. He's just under 10 strikeouts per 9 innings, 2.06 ERA, .67 WHIP on the season. He's pitched well at home with a 1.93 ERA, 1.21 batting average against. And again, it's not the ideal matchup, but I'll just grab the best pitcher going tonight. I think there's some low price guys you can pair him with. If you want to go with a somewhat high price guy, you've got Samardzija. He's probably the second best pitcher going. Again, not a great matchup. The Pirates have been hitting well lately, but Samardzija's pitched well. He's allowed 3 or less earned runs in all but one start this year. He pitched well at Pittsburgh earlier this season. Going 7 innings, giving up 5 hits, and not allowing any runs. He's had a bit of bad luck getting wins, but he does have wins in 2 of his last 3 starts. The other guy I would pair him with is Tomlin. I think that's a guy Dave likes a lot, so I'll turn it over to Dave and let him tell you about what he thinks about Tomlin tonight. Dave?
Yeah, I agree. I think that I'm shocked at Tomlin's price. Tomlin, to me, is one of the top pitchers going tonight. I mean, he's a high strikeout guy. He's facing a team that strikes out a lot. He's got, he's going up against Lester, and I don't like going up against, top flight pitchers, but Lester has not been great so far this year. And I think Cleveland's got the better of this matchup all the way around. I would have expected his price to be about 5,000 higher than it is. I think it's an absolute steal to get Tomlin today. He's an absolute must play among the pitchers. And then I think Sale, I agree with you. I think Sale, I don't mind the matchup as much as you do. And again, it's because I'm less concerned about Scherzer than maybe I would be at a different time this year. He's pitched worse than Lester. I mean, he hasn't pitched up to his big name yet. And so I think that Sale gets the better of this matchup. And he's a high strikeout guy. He's been arguably the best pitcher, I think, in the American League this year when he hasn't, when he's been healthy. So it's a great pairing of a high price guy and a low price guy, which allows you to keep some hitting options going. So I'm very excited about the pitching matchups today.
Yeah, you look at Scherzer's last 4 starts, 4 earned runs on 11 hits, 4 earned runs on 9 hits, 5 earned runs on 8 hits, 7 earned runs on 12 hits. I think personally he's hiding an injury right now with the way he's pitched over his last 4 starts. For a guy like that to be pitching like that, there's got to be something up. I think it's going to come out pretty soon that he is injured, but I mean, that's just my one guy's opinion.
Yeah, and look at Lester. I mean, Lester's been worse over the last 30 days. His last 5 starts, 167 WHIP in those games. So he's like I said, normally I wouldn't want to buck either one of those guys, but I got no problem doing that tonight.
Yep. All right, and then moving back behind the plate, I think we agree on Montero. I think that's a guy you have to spend on tonight. He's hitting 309 with all 8 of his home runs against right-handers. He's facing Feldman, who has a 5.40 ERA at home. That's a good hitter's park. He's allowing a 287 batting average to lefties. I think Montero is the top play by a lot. I'm not sure there's anywhere else you'd want to go unless you're looking for a punt play. Dave, what do you think?
Well, I agree. I think tonight to me, the highest scoring matchup tonight, at least the matchup of 2 pitchers who are not doing well, is that Arizona matchup at Houston. You have Miley pitching tonight for Arizona, a lefty who doesn't get righties out very well, and Houston has a ton of good righties. And then you've got Feldman pitching against Arizona. Feldman hasn't gotten anybody out. I mean, he's statistically, he's far and away the worst pitcher going tonight. So, I'm looking to play a lot of guys in this game. Montero certainly is on that list.
All right, first base, what do you think?
Well, yeah, I think the play of the day among the hitters is Carter of Houston. He's a big, powerful right-handed batter going up against Miley. I talked about Miley. He's given up 11 homers already this year to right-handers. It's just a great matchup, a power-hitting righty against a lefty who gives up a lot of homers to righties. Carter is my home run derby selection of the day. He's not one of these heavyweight first basemen either, so you save a little money there and you get your big power hitter. So I think he's the best play today among the hitters.
Yeah, I'm with you. I listed Carter, but I also listed Encarnacion. I'll probably use one at first base and one at utility because I need to get one real blue chip stud in there. A lot of the outfield matchups aren't as great as they typically are, so I'm going to use Encarnacion as well. I know he's on the road, but he's been great against right-handed pitching, hitting 16 home runs in 187 at-bats have come against righties. He's facing Gossman, who has a 4.91 ERA and is allowing a 3.50 batting average to righties. So I would like to start him at home. He's not at home. He's my home run pick of the day. But Carter, again, I would like to get them both in the lineup. And then we're sticking with these right-handed Astros, second base, Altuve. He sat out yesterday. He thinks he could have played. He played through the injury on Tuesday. So from what I read, he's expected to be in the lineup today, hitting 324 at home. The big number is 408 against lefties, facing Wade Miley, who has a 457 ERA on the year, is allowing a 272 batting average. And again, Montero's back behind the plate. I know Miley's a lefty, but with Montero behind the plate, Altuve may have a chance to run as well and get you some extra points with some stolen bases. You agree on Altuve, right?
I do, but I think it's close. And if you're worried about Altuve's injury, I think there's a good second option in a similar price range, and that's Cano. Cano seems to be hitting better. The Mariners were completely snuffed out last night by Tanaka. In fact, they've lost both games of this series so far against a Yankee team that really hasn't been playing that well this year. I think this is a game where Seattle can, salvage a little pride in this series, and Cano against his old mates. They go against a weak Yankee right-hander today. I think, I'm actually looking to try to get both Altuve and Cano in the lineup. May or may not happen. Generally not always a good idea to play two second basemen, but I do like them both. And if there's any hesitation on my part about what Altuve's status is, then I have no problem putting Cano in there.
Yeah, I've used Altuve in the utility spot a couple times. I know, like you said, you don't always want to have a second baseman in your utility, but I think the couple times I did, he had double-digit points. So, he's capable of a decent night like that. So I wouldn't be too worried about it. And then moving over to third base. This is where I found a really good matchup. What are you thinking at third base?
Well, I see several good matchups at third base. You talked about the Toronto game tonight at Baltimore. And Baltimore's pitching Gausman tonight. You mentioned him. He's a guy that they brought up to pitch over the weekend in an emergency basis, not because he was pitching well, but because it was a last-minute thing. It was his turn in the rotation in the minors. They brought him up not expecting much. He actually pitched a pretty good game, but I don't think even the Baltimore organization thinks he's very good. They're going to give him another shot tonight against Toronto. Toronto's a very good hitting team. You're going to definitely want Toronto guys in your lineup. Lowry is one of these guys as a third baseman. I think he's a good play tonight. I think that Seager, another Seattle lefty tonight against Whitley tonight of the Yankees, he's a good play tonight. I like both of them, and I would have no hesitation playing either one of them.
Yeah, I think there actually are a lot of good spots. I like Lowry as well. I like even David Wright, who's got a good history at against Kyle Loesch. But the guy who really jumped out to me is Lonnie Chisenhall. You look over his numbers; he's hitting 500 against lefties, 14 for 28. He's hitting 432 on the road. He's absolutely on fire, hitting 13 for his last 21. I believe he has 4 home runs over that time. This is a guy who I'm absolutely going to get in the lineup tonight, even with a lot of good options at third base. Those numbers are just eye popping. Of course, this is if Jeff were on the show, he would talk about he's due for a regression. But Jeff's not on the show, so I'm starting Lonnie Chisenhall tonight. And then moving over to shortstop. What do you think?
Well, I think I've got a nice price play here. Reyes, to me, is the obvious play tonight. We talked about already Toronto going up against Gaussman. You're going to want some Toronto guys in the lineup. But Gregorius tonight, if he starts for Arizona, and he has been playing lately, he's been red hot lately, and he retains a very, very cheap price. You get him in a really nice matchup tonight against Feldman. It's as much as I like Reyes, I also like saving money and getting a nice price. I think he might be the best bargain among all the hitters tonight.
Yeah, if I can talk you out of Reyes, maybe you'll lean towards going against him. The thing I saw was Gaussman. Lefties are hitting 143 against him, so I may want to skip on that. That's the reason I passed on Reyes. That moved me over to Starling Castro. This is not that's not even a play that I really love. I'll probably look to punt at shortstop. He's 10 for his last 32. He's hit all 8 of his home runs off of right-handers. Volquez does give up some power. He's given up 6 home runs to right-handers. That's a matchup, I could take it or leave it. So if I find a better option, maybe it's just a guy who's in the lineup, a really cheap play, or Dave's suggestion. I'll probably end up going very cheap at shortstop tonight. Last spot is the outfield. Now, for me, I don't know if you found something different. I did not see the usual, where there's 6 guys that I like, or even 3 guys that I really like tonight in the outfield. I don't think it's a great night in the outfield. I'll probably use a first baseman or third baseman at utility. I do like a couple of Orioles here. I like Markakis, given his history against Burley, hitting 429 with 2 home runs in 42 at-bats. He's really had his number. I know it's a lefty versus lefty matchup, but I'm going to go with the BVP play. And then Adam Jones, he's hitting 422 against lefties this season with 4 home runs and 64 at-bats. Burley's been okay against righties, giving up a 267 batting average. And I'll give the edge to Jones over Cruz because Burley doesn't give up a lot of power. I believe he's only given up 3 home runs on the year. So I'd rather have Jones with his probably ability to get some more hits. And so that's why I went with Jones over Nelson Cruz, who usually hits lefties well also. George Springer's another good play. He's been good in June, hitting 276, 2 home runs, 7 RBIs, and 6 runs. And again, you mentioned Wade Miley, 11 home runs given up to right-handers. That's a very big stat there. If you want to go low, James Jones, I think, is a good idea. Hitting 298 against righties. You talked about Whitley. He's given up a 298 batting average to lefties. Jones is 8 for his last 22. So I think he's a solid play if you're looking for a cheap option in the outfield. But I couldn't find a lot of good cheap options in the outfield. I like Dexter Fowler a bit, but I'll probably end up going with the 3 high price guys that I like and looking to save elsewhere. What do you think?
I don't really agree with you in the outfield in terms of the depth of talent there. I do think there are some really nice heavyweights, and I do think there's some really nice depth at this position. The good thing about going with Tomlin as a pitcher is it's going to give you an opportunity to play some high-priced guys. I don't really have any of them going yet in my lineup, so I've got room in the outfield to go with. You mentioned I think you want to play one of the 2 Orioles, the big Orioles, either Jones or Cruz, and you make a good case for Jones there. I think I'm going to side with you there and agree with that and go with him over Cruz. I'm surprised you didn't mention Bautista. If you like Encarnacion, I'm not sure why you wouldn't like Bautista in this matchup against Gaussman. To me, it's a pretty obvious play. And then I know if Jeff were here, big Brewers fan, how can you not go pick one of the Brewer big right-handed outfielders against a left-handed starter? Now, Neese is a very underrated pitcher, a good pitcher, but he is slightly weaker against right-handers than he is against lefties. And all three of these guys hit lefties well. So you have your choice here again of Braun or Gomez, but I actually like Chris Davis better among the three. He's actually been hitting a little better than the other two guys against lefties lately, and his price is a little bit lower. So, but I do think that one of those Brewers, one of those Orioles, and Bautista give you a very powerful outfield. Then there's also, I talked earlier about the Houston matchup against Arizona, wanting to attack that game. Well, there's four outfielders in that game worth considering. Springer is a high-priced guy, but there's also Fowler and Parra and Peralta, who are all, the various prices, all good in this matchup. And so if you're looking to save money in the outfield there, I think there's 3 or 4 options there as well. So I do like the outfield selection tonight.
Okay, yeah, I'm that's good stuff there. Yeah, the reason I went away from the Brewers was because of Neese. I know he's a lefty pitcher, but he has pitched pretty well. And then Bautista, if I'm going to pay up for him, I'd like to see him in a matchup where he's, against a left-handed pitcher or hitting at home. On the road against a righty, I sort of went away from him. I like Encarnacion because he's had good power numbers against right-handers. That's why I went with him and not Bautista.
Well, and one thing you mentioned before, and I would caution you not to to kind of disregard it, is Gaussman's numbers. I mean, if you look at his splits, you mentioned left-handers haven't hit him at all, but right-handers have crushed him. But it's a very small sample size, and like I said, I would go back to his history in the minor leagues, which is, he wasn't even their top minor league pitcher. Like I said, he was not called up because he was pitching well. He was called up in a big-time emergency situation. I have a feeling he's the worst pitcher talent-wise that's going tonight, and I know Toronto is looking forward to this matchup. So I would want to I don't really think it matters righty or lefty going against this guy tonight. I would try to get Toronto's best guys in the lineup in some way, shape, or form.
All right, good stuff there from Dave. That wraps it up for the day. That's all the positions, but we'll go ahead and give you a final word. For me, it's when there's a small slate, I've talked about this before, you're not necessarily looking for great matchups. You're going to settle for good matchups. So for me, Chris Sale, I think you have to play regardless of the matchup. And I think Tomlin's the guy to pair him with so you can save money so you can spend elsewhere. Now, when you do see great matchups on a small slate like this, I think you have to plug them in. I think you start your lineup by putting in Altuve, by putting in Chisenhall, Adam Jones, and Nick Markakis, and then you build from there, and then you find good, the good matchups that you can find. Encarnacion is one guy I may splurge on tonight. And then as far as I talked about shortstop, I'll probably just end up with a punt play there. Look to see maybe there's a platoon guy hitting second in the lineup, something like that. That's where I'm going to look. Dave, final word.
Well, we certainly agree on the pitching strategy tonight, and that is, a high-priced guy. And Sale is going as well as anybody right now. I think he's worth his price, and what makes it worthwhile to pitch him is you've got the lowest price guy on the entire salary chart, Tomlin, who I think is a very good play tonight as well. So it's not like yesterday where you had these two real heavyweight pitchers and you had to choose between the two, or if you picked them both, you ended up with no hitters in your lineup. Today you can actually get the highest priced pitcher, pair him with another pitcher who I think is going to do well and yet save money, save enough to get probably 3 or 4 big-time hitters in your lineup, certainly a couple of these outfielders we've talked about. But I would strongly recommend going with Chris Carter at first base or at your utility spot tonight. He's, like I said, the matchup is just perfect for him. A lefty that gives up a lot of power. He's a righty who hits homers against lefties. It's just a power against weakness matchup that could pay off in like one of those 2 home run games tonight that makes the difference for you in your matchup. So that's where I would start my lineup, of those 2 pitchers and Carter, and then grab yourself a couple of high-priced outfielders and take it from there.
All right, that wraps us up for today. You can follow us on Twitter at PlayFanmouth or check our rankings at the blog.fanmouth.com. Dave and I will be back tomorrow. There's also good stuff, as I mentioned, on the U.S. Open. Good day for sports. Enjoy watching it all. We will see you tomorrow.